Okay, today we're going to be discussing different options with solar energy. As you can see here, this is a standard solar panel. Back in the day, these were quite expensive, and so people made their own solar panels. You could buy these solar cells. Some of them were broken and chipped and other things, but they still work. You could buy them, solder them together, and glue them or mount them to glass panels. This one is a glass picture frame I got at Goodwill, and I just glued them to the back with the silicone. Glued the tips, the corners of the cells to hold them on there, and then you flip it over and it's protected from rain and such, and it does work. But nowadays the solar panels are much cheaper. You can just buy them already pre-made, and of course they're much more robust. Now these, I made this into like a suitcase thing where it has the two panels on a hinge and a handle on it, and there's actually a little charge controller in here as well to keep the voltage under control. Anyway, the most efficient use of a solar panel is to run things directly. A lot of these are meant to charge 12-volt systems, but the actual voltage on them is 18 to 20 volts. So you can actually run 12-volt items directly, like this fan, which would be good in the daytime. I made this little adapter here that plugs in, has a wire, and it runs straight to the solar panel. That's much more efficient than charging a battery. You can also use it to run lights and other tools, as long as you keep the voltage in mind. It doesn't even matter if the panel drops down to 12 volts. Your drill might run a little slower, but that's okay. So another option, of course, during the evening time you need some light, so you hook the solar panel, you have your wires, and you can hook it straight to a battery to charge it during the day, as long as you keep an eye on your battery voltage so you don't overcharge it and bake it. Essentially you would dry it out and burn it out. This is kind of the simplest way to use a solar system if you're on a budget or still learning. You can charge the battery directly during the day, keeping an eye on it, and you can use that at night to run other things, such as, again, ideally you would want to use 12-volt items to be the most efficient. You could run 12-volt lights. Again, you could run your drill or your fan on 12 volts. It'll run slower, but that's okay. And they also do have 12-volt tools you could utilize. Of course, another option people end up getting to eventually as they upgrade is an inverter. Now this is a small one. Everything here is small to show you how everything works, but you can plug the inverter into the battery. Of course, there's different ways. You could wire it, or you can plug it in an adapter and have 110 voltage. This is a small size. It's good for running smaller items such as chargers, small lights. LED lights work fine. Ideally, though, if you can run an LED light straight from the battery, like a 12-volt LED light, it's much more efficient than running it through an inverter first, where you lose energy. Typically, you'll be converting it to 110 and then back down to a lower voltage, wasting energy. Another option you could use, during the daytime, you could run your solar panel straight to a voltage regulator. You could set the voltage on here with these potentiometers and set it to whatever you want. Say you want it 5 volts or 8 volts or whatever, and it would go straight to that. You could also use this to put it on your battery, and so it would not charge too much. It's not a typical charge controller, but it could be used that way. They also have larger ones. This actually could step the voltage up to a higher voltage or a lower voltage. Like if you had your 12-volt battery, you could hook it to this and actually adjust it up to 18 volts to use for different items. They have different power levels of these. They have larger ones as well. Now, another option for storage, instead of the battery, you can charge supercapacitors. These have been, in the past, they were quite expensive. These are very large ones. But now they have smaller ones that are relatively inexpensive. And if you charge these directly from a solar panel, they're very efficient. They charge much more efficiently than a battery. Again, you have to not overcharge them, and you could use a voltage regulator, or you could put a meter on them and watch them charge, because they do charge fairly quickly. And these, again, you could use directly. You can run a light or fan or whatever you need straight off of them. Typically you would hook 6 of these up to get 12 volts, but you can make whatever voltage you want. And then you can use these to run, again, straight to a fan or a light or whatever you like, or to an inverter even. They do have enough power to run an inverter and something for a limited time depending on what you plug into them. The key feature is that they're very efficient. If you have big supercapacitors like this, they do take a long time to charge, but they will run a small light for easily overnight, which is how you need them. So ideally, if you could have these, they charge much more efficiently than batteries, and you could charge them in the day and use them at night. So that's kind of an overview of a solar system. If you're starting off, get a solar panel. They have they're getting quite cheap, even delivered to your door on Amazon, and you can start and just have, you know, the wires come off of it and use those and play with them and hook them up to different items. You gotta have a meter and check the voltage and know what you're doing somewhat. But from there you could, you know, get a battery. You could start with something small. You can always upgrade. You can add more panels, you can add more batteries, and it gets larger and larger. And then from there you could upgrade to an inverter, and again, this is a small one. You could start with this for small items. These do run very efficiently when they're on, but this one uses 1.6 watts of energy, so it does waste some energy when it's on, so you only use it when you need it. And then you can get bigger ones to run larger things. So that's kind of an overview. Again, if you want it more stabilized, you can get a charge controller. These are quite cheap. You don't need this. It's interesting, the lights actually, it says it's charging from the ambient light in the room. This hooks up to your solar panel here. This goes to your battery that the middle leads, and so that runs over and hooks to my battery. So I can just take this with me. It folds up. There's some Velcro here. Has a handle. This is 250 watt panels, so I have 100 watts of power. It's a lot of power. It would take care of all of your basic needs. And stay tuned for the following videos where we'll get more in depth.